Good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, August 19th. The first item is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And I do want to note that there was another donation from Johnson's Auto Repair to the Sheriff's Department for the K-9 program, and we certainly appreciate their continued contributions to that program. So thank you. All right, next we have citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard on items not on the agenda? See none in the audience. Any online?
None, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. We'll move on then to the approval of the bills and vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and vouchers.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, approval of minutes from August 5th.
Move to approve the minutes of August 5th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Krabenoff and second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, we'll move into our request to fill a full-time detox technician position. Good morning, Troy and Kathy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Today we are here to request approval to fill a full-time detox position. We recently had a resignation, and this is a budgeted position, and just looking to get back to full staff.
It looks on the salary calculation piece, there will be some savings.
Yes, possibly, depending on who applies within.
Okay. Are you needing a backfill in this?
I don't believe so.
Any other questions?
One question.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Bear.
Once this position is filled, will you be fully staffed over there?
With technicians,
Technicians? All right.
I'm still looking for nursing.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to fill the full-time detox technician position at the withdrawal management detox facility with backfill if needed.
Second.
Right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have our budget presentation from the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber and the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC, Innovate 2028. We have Shannon and Joe here this morning. Morning. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. As you know, my name is Shannon Full, President of the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber, joined by my colleague Joe Raso. And so we wanted to give you an opportunity to hear a little bit about the work that we've been doing with investment dollars that you have made through our Innovate 28, and then obviously make a budget request for 2026. So I'll jump right in. As you know, Innovate 28 is a joint partnership between the Chamber and the Economic Development Corporation. It's a 4-year initiative, really focusing on 3 major areas of public policy, workforce, and business development. As we all know, we are a growing community, but we need to have intentionality behind that growth as well, and this plan dives into that. So I'm going to start first with talking about public policy. This is a piece that, as you all know, the county has been very engaged with us, and it's a significant amount of work that we do here on the Minnesota side. With your help and partnership, we've seen significant growth in this area. We've seen a lot more recognition of our region, a lot more clout as we are looking at the issues that are important for our growth here, and strengthening our voice down at the Capitol, but also with our business community as well. So some of the areas that we worked on over this past year, again, with the help of all of you and the help of our business leaders, the city as well. Although we would have loved the flood mitigation to be more and need it to be more, it will be a continued push that we will have at the Capitol. $9 million was dedicated statewide. Now it'll be a part of continuing to strengthen that voice to make sure we can get as much of that those dollars here as we possibly can. The residential, psychiatric residential treatment facility, I know, is a big priority of the counties. It's a piece that we added to our legislative priorities and spoke very passionately about that down there. In addition to that, there were other pieces around the R&D tax credit that will allow our companies to stay competitive and pushing for that expansion. Also trying to minimize and limit the regulation component of this. Again, we have significant border cities components that we also looked at to make sure that we can stay competitive with our neighbors on the North Dakota side. And then the paid family leave is another, continues and will continue to be a massive issue for our businesses. We have a lot of businesses very concerned about January 2026 is the start of paid family leave. Yes, they reduced it from 1.2% to 1.1%. I don't know if that is really a strength. More so, we do have our relationships have been strengthening with DEED, even though we may disagree with them. The DEED commissioner and staff, the staff will be here on September 15th for another business leaders conversation about this. The last one, we had 65 business leaders attend. We're going to ask some more hard-hitting questions of DEED around the implementation of this. As we know, this also will directly affect the county as well, considering public sector is not excluded from that. So the other important role that we play from a public policy standpoint is the convening side of things, bringing business leaders, community leaders, elected leaders together to have discussions on the critical topics that we have. So we had numerous different events that worked in partnership again with the county and the city of Moorhead. Senator Klobuchar's tariff event was a significant conversation about tariffs and what's happening, especially with our proximity to Canada, our neighbors to the north. That is a concern of ours, but also just general tariff regulations, or I should say the tariff new requirements coming on that are affecting our businesses. The Governor Walz Roundtable on April 16th, meeting with statewide partners on flood mitigation. That was a really well-attended event. We, again, were able to have a very succinct message to them through the diversion and the flood authority, but we'll continue to try to find those events in the future. Our roundtable events with leaders and legislators continue to have strength, and then our session previews and session wrap-ups where we're actually able to hear from our state leaders about what the progress was during the year. As you all know, we also convene two major pieces of interest here for the county. The DC fly-in was our largest fly-in we've ever had. At 41 business and community leaders traveled to DC. We were able to get meetings with, face-to-face meetings with significant cabinet leaders like Secretary Noem, as well as Secretary Burgum, Congresswoman Craig, Congresswoman Finstead, along with our local congressional delegates as well. And so it was a very productive and very impactful fly-in. The next is our Moorhead Area Day at the Capitol. Again, 34 business and community leaders joined us there. This was another, this one continues to grow, and the strength of this isn't just in numbers, it's in who we're actually able to have conversations with as well and advance those priorities. So we know as a greater Minnesota community how important it is for us to have a strong voice and also to build a coalition, which is one of the things that we'll be focusing on, is how do we strengthen our greater Minnesota coalitions to strengthen the voice going forward. So for 25-26, really looking at a couple major areas, building up our Center for Civic Engagement. We all have talked about and seen across the country there is a continual decline in civic engagement. So that's everything from getting candidates to run for positions like yours, but also in our middle schools, in our high schools, a lack of civics and focus in our college campuses. And so the Center for Civic Engagement is going to focus on getting out the vote, to showing up, understanding your ballot, to showing up to actually serve in positions like this, school board, state level leadership. On September 25th, we will have our first CEO's dinner about the Center for Civic Engagement, so more to come on that. We'll continue to engage with our elected leaders and business leaders and build up candidate and employer toolkits also to support the Center for Civic Engagement. That's a pretty massive agenda item. In addition to that, you all know the lobbying and the advocacy component of this will continue. We look forward to working in partnership with you on the priorities that are most important to the county and making sure that our voice is one that is collective and continues to resonate at the state level. We'll turn it over to Workforce now.
Excuse me, good morning, thanks for the opportunity. I do want to make a connection here in the importance of the alignment of this initiative, especially as it relates to public policy. So one of the things that Shannon and Kale and the EDC team, including myself, have continued to work on, but are working on even more, is how are we making sure that as our chamber partners go in front of legislative policy issues, that they have data from the companies in our region to support those positions. And so just in the last session, I think on a weekly basis, Kale and I were on calls talking about what information we have within our databases because of the outreach we do to companies across the region that can support public policy. And I think that's one of the benefits of this alignment and this relationship for the benefit of Clay County and our entire region. As Shannon said, you know, workforce development is really the area of focus that we know if we can do well, our region's going to win. Right now, we still have over 8,600 jobs being posted by companies across the region. And we know in order for us to be successful, we have to focus in a comprehensive way to be successful. Doing so, as the EDC, as many of you know, we've taken the lead on the workforce attraction for the region. You know, having the site live in FM area to support bringing people here who just don't know what this region has to offer, authentically who we are. I'm happy to say that right now we have over 20,000 individuals from around the country who are we're keeping track of, they're keeping track of us, learning about what it's like to live, work, and play here. And that relationship continues to grow. So very successful outreach that's happening. We're doing that with alumni from our institutions, which obviously is important because they already have a relationship here. And but they may have not been here for 10, 15, 20 years, and we know how things have changed for the better for everybody. We're also doing direct recruitment assistance. So there are companies across the region, here's an example of a handful, that we work with one-on-one to identify people that they need to recruit into the area. Healthcare is one that we don't have a company listed, but it's obviously the largest area of need that we have for our healthcare providers. And we've been doing very targeted support of their needs to individuals around the country. This is a video that we want to just play. It's about a minute. This is a program that we developed to help our companies recruit people not only in the region, but it maybe inform students that are going through the trade expo that the chamber puts on to give them an experience that they may not have had and couldn't have because they might not be able to get into the facility. So if you'll play that, that'd be great. Or do I get to play
I
it?
think you can do it.
It's my control. Well, maybe.
You get to do it.
I'll do it. There we go.
The number one thing I'd say is this will change your recruiting for sure. It doesn't matter how, deep your culture is or how much you can speak to how great your company is. Being able to show it versus tell it is indescribable, I guess. You cannot get that same wow factor, that same effect from describing it as you can from putting them in the experience. And when you're inside that headset, the web experience is great too, but when you're inside that headset, you really feel like you're there. We have a couple shots in ours where we're up on catwalks and we're looking down and people have that feel of, oh my God, I'm up high. So you can see them really reacting to it and it's really like they're there. And you can't put a price on how great that is.
So this is a virtual reality experience created by Be More Colorful right here in our region. We have 14 companies who've created this experience. And I saw a picture, I think, of the Career and Tech Expo this past year where, a student's got the headset on and they're looking around and then they're talking to a representative from American Crystal Sugar. It's just a really engaging way for people to understand what's happening in business and industry, and really proud of that. I'll turn it over to.
So in addition to the attraction, clearly it's a numbers game. We don't have enough people, enough bodies to fill the positions. So we have to look at both bringing people into the region, but also making sure that we're retaining as many of those students as we possibly can. We also are upskilling those individuals into positions that are in high demand and high need. And so the chamber continues to work on the retention and the development aspect of this. Career awareness and retention is a specific part of this. So a lot of work is being done right now with K-12 and higher education on career awareness and exploration. As Joe mentioned, the chamber has just been asked to take on the Health, Tech, and Trades Expo. So this is about over 4,000 students will come through the expo this year. And formerly the business industry or the building industry association, we're doing that now in partnership with them. But under our leadership, we will continue to look at how do we amplify this, how do we grow it and expand it and make it a little bit more innovative, continue to have it be hands-on. Our Adventures program is our teacher immersion program. This year we were able to move this into continuing education credit. So we have had about 40 teachers that were immersed in 27 different companies. And this is to give teachers and educators real world examples of what are the skill sets that are needed, what are the top high demand jobs, how do I teach that to my students? And then when we look at the attraction, inclusion, and retention component, I'll touch on a couple of the numbers on the next slide. I mentioned that 32 educators, we actually had 36 by the time I think it all was said and done with those 27 businesses for Adventures. Over 3,000 students at the Health and Tech Trade Expo. The 250 participants, we also are looking at our companies are really wanting to do and needing to do that more with work-based learning. So you think about internships, apprenticeships, the importance of us having companies that are doing that. So we've put together both some training components for companies to use. How do I do a good internship? What does this look like? Can we model this? We also had webinars on what work-based learning really looks like. How do I get engaged? Because what we're hearing from companies is it's difficult to navigate that system, right? Especially if you're looking at multiple school districts over 2 different states and multiple colleges. And so we're really trying to streamline that through these initiatives and efforts. We also are convening industry sector partnerships. This is in our major areas of focus: agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, IT. And these areas are bringing business leaders together with educators, with government and nonprofits to really understand specifically for manufacturers, what are we needing, how are we advancing that. Over 300 have attended that. And then our concierge program is really taking off. This is our acclimation program where when we're bringing in people from outside of the area, not only that prospect, but also their spouse or their family unit, really doing and giving white glove treatment to allow them to say, what is the stickiness that the counties, the community offers, and how we can make sure that we are connecting them to the right resources so that they stay. That is continuing to advance with companies, similar companies that Joe showed on the screen as well. So the talent and workforce development component is a large section of focus of the work that we're doing, but we are definitely moving the needle. We just need to move it a lot faster and farther. So.
And I think on that front, you know, when we think about the outreach to our high school students and to the college students who are going through the system right now in our region, we're putting on the third Bioscience Summit on October 15th and 16th. We have students both in the high schools in the region and here in the county, and also MSUM, Concordia, M-State. They're bringing students through to meet with the companies because we obviously want to connect them to the bioscience industry and the healthcare industry here in the region. So that's, you know, some definitely want to share with you today so you know that that's happening. And we're partnering with the Chamber on kind of the career exploration piece to that. Also, you know, Shannon mentioned the work-based learning. It was just announced yesterday, I saw on social, that Golden Pass Solutions, who has the Compass system that's partnered with the Chamber and the business community, Concordia is the first private institution using that system in our region, and they announced that yesterday. So I think that's good news to show that connectedness. As far as business development goes, I'll be very quick on this because we want time for some Q&A. We set a very lofty goal of 130 projects that we would work on over the course of 4 years. To date, there have been 12 successful projects. Just one announced yesterday, if you saw in the paper on the news, Applied Digital is investing a small $3 billion in a facility here in the region that we know is going to have huge impacts for its relationships with higher ed, with other companies, you know, just puts our name out there at even a stronger level. And we're continuing to work with them. You'll see more information. I think they're going to have a information session next Monday on that particular project. We're continuing to work on attraction. This is just a list of some of the conferences that we've attended and will be attending. Some we're putting on, as I mentioned, the bioscience. Many of them are happening in this region, which is great because we're bringing in hundreds of people who have no experience of what's going on here. So we're allowing them to have, giving them that experience. And then just wanted to mention we're continuing to support what we call our Document Ready Site program. The Makara Industrial Park obviously is the one identified asset that we're selling here in Clay County, along with others across the region. Our site consultants were in this past year. They were just in a couple months ago looking at that site, also looking at the former Anheuser-Busch facility to talk about how we could find another utilizer of that property.
So so the work that we're doing continues. As you know, it's a public-private partnership. We have just about $3.9 million is what's raised per year. The public sector or the private sector dollars are matched with public sector dollars. We use dollars that Clay County uses along with Cass County dollars to leverage that. In all honesty, it is what has made this partnership as effective as it is because we've had both the public sector and the private sector at the table. And so we are very appreciative of the investment that you made in that. in this first year, the year that we're in right now. We hope that you look favorably upon investment in the future at the same level or greater if you so choose. But the next investor briefing is October 21st. As investors, all of you are invited to join us, and we'll make sure you all receive that invitation. We do these investor briefings in person twice a year, and then you get a written update on the progress in the opposite quarters. And so, but by all means, if there's ever an opportunity that you want to hear from us more frequently, or you'd like us to come and engage with you, we're happy to do so. We'll now stand for any questions that you may have.
All right, questions? Maybe not a question, but a comment. I'm going to start off by saying this past year during the legislative process, there was an awful lot of time spent in St. Paul on two critical areas that Clay County had set as priorities, being the flood protection and the PRTF. And this board had designated Commissioners Mojo and Krabanoff to be our, in the Capitol representatives on behalf of the board, but along with that was the chamber was there. And I want to just emphasize how much our two commissioners came back and said how well coordinated things were when they were in St. Paul, and that had to do with Kale. And so we recognize that, and we really appreciate those efforts that have gone on. And when it comes to the funding, we actually have another topic on our agenda for later this morning, talking about a lobbyist, because we're down to some critical timeframes for helping get some of these needed funds. And we certainly don't do that, or we won't be looking at that, because we're not satisfied with the efforts and the help that you've had added. But just the fact that it's required these two to spend an awful lot of time there, and they probably could have even spent more time than what they did. And so we're going to be having that discussion. But I just wanted to really thank you for those efforts. And I think back to the days when I was serving on the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC. I remember early on the goals were to try to bring in more high-paying jobs into the region. And I think now it's become the opposite of that. It's well, not the opposite of that, but it's become okay. Now we have some pretty enticing opportunities for people to come here, and now it's become, how do we get the workforce here? So it's kind of a role reversal in some ways, Joe, compared to early on in my days when I served on that board. But it's a nice problem to have, that we have the jobs available, but now to get the people to be here.
If I could, Commissioner, I think, the evolution of economic development, the relationships between our two organizations, coming 8 years ago and where we are today, because of, quite frankly, the leadership that our organizations have seen through the counties coming together, the cities, the private sector. It doesn't happen overnight, and as you said, we're sort of have this opportunity of, we have to attract companies and we have to attract people, because when people look at a market, they want to see that there are a number of companies, a number of places that they can work, and doing both is critical, and continuing to grow that entrepreneurial spirit, which really comes a lot out of our colleges and universities. Most of the companies that have been here, that started here, I think if you look at their leadership, they probably went to Concordia, MSUM, and DSU, right? So there's more work to be done, but there's more opportunity within that work.
And Commissioner, if I might
Yes,
add, so thank you for the comments on the public policy. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Cale is a rock star, and we're very lucky to have him. He's very committed to the work we're doing. He's very committed to the partnership that we have with the county. And it really is about leveraging. So how do we leverage dollars to the greatest extent that we can? And so I'm encouraged that you're looking at the lobbyist side of it. I do know how important that is, and our voice, to have Clay County's voice voice at a consistent level at the Capitol is important as well. Whatever we can do to help in that process, if we can leverage that, give recommendations, whatever that might be, please let us know. We're happy to do so.
And that's probably one of the things that I was going to suggest. And before we have to first determine if that's the route we're going to take as a board, and if so, how would we do that selection process? And we might
Please.
get lending an ear there to.
Please call on us. We've got some ideas on expertise in some of those areas, so.
And I just want to, and I know Commissioner Ebbing has something, but I just wanted to state that the efforts that we've had over, actually since the 2009 flood, and our flood mitigation process that we've gone on, and the efforts that we've done, it not only was to save our community, but to build it. And Joe, what you just talked about with this proposed new AI facility, the $3 billion plant, I doubt that would have ever been considered had it not been for knowing that there was permanent flood protection in this area.
You are very correct on that statement.
And I'm guessing there's going to be, we're scheduled to have that completed by the end of 2026. And my guess is there's going to be more to come in that area. Now, I get it that there's, I just saw it yesterday too, and there's some comments of concern about, is it going to raise electrical rates and all that? But those things will work themselves out, I'm sure. And I've seen some response from the electrical industry that no, it won't. So we'll see.
These decisions are not made lightly on projects like that. When you talk about utility usage, companies like Minn Kota and Cass County Electric are very aware and put the effort into when those decisions are made, knowing they have things lined up.
Sure. Commissioner Ebringer, you had a...
Yeah, I just want to kind of echo some of Commissioner Campbell's comments. Chamber's been remarkable in working with us on our local issues and bringing, you're there and you bring in our business community when we need to address our leaders out of St. Paul. We've got a voice there now, and the Chamber and Cal are very much a part of that. I went up twice this last session, and it was gruesome. And I'm not being dramatic, it was. Commissioner Krabanoff, Commissioner Mojo earned their CIB doing this, truly. And Cal was there both times. I was up there, and he was there when they were there. We got heard, and they know we're out here now. And it's very much on you can be credited for that, the Chamber can. We're also looking at a lot of things happening in this county between business interests coming from White Earth, obviously the jet fuel plant. These things are all happening, and we really want to reach out to the economic advisors that our smaller communities have. And you've had people there at the meetings. We want to support them. This whole entire county is going to be growing. It's not just going to be agricultural. And I lived in two different communities where I saw that happen. I'm old, and I had decades to look back at what happened to Dallas-Fort Worth and what happened to Northwest Arkansas. And what was cotton fields or soybean fields at one point ends up a real hotbed for business. And we appreciate the support you and your staff have given us in reaching out to our rural communities, and we're going to continue. We have quarterly meetings now with the EDAs, and we're going to continue to work with them. So I appreciate your efforts.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. And we would welcome that opportunity as well to, if there's opportunity where you'd like us to be at the table for more of those meetings with our rural communities. We believe that's also very important, that we're able to provide resources to the rural communities that may need it as well. So please let us know that. We're happy to engage.
Right, yes, Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I mean, I think as serving on your public policy committee and having spent a lot of time in St. Paul with Kale, I really appreciate that joint collaboration. We heard a lot from folks at the Capitol, how amazing it was that you had workforce and business community supporting the initiative of the entire region, and how that's not necessarily something that you see in other areas of the states. I'll take that further to how closely aligned we as a region work with our partners in North Dakota, and having the avenue for us to create and advocate with folks on the North Dakota side, I think is also really important. It elevates what we're talking about as a piece of the Red River. Doesn't separate us, it really defines us and really helps unite us in a lot of the work, and just can't speak enough on that piece. To maybe a segue in regards to the site, shovel-ready site pieces. I really appreciate, Joe, that you've got those on, I think it's your site, the Innovate 28 site, but also how they're incorporated in the Minnesota shovel-ready site program pieces. I know it's only the 20-acre piece, but it's really helpful for us as we have these conversations. As you know, just last week, Commissioner Bear and I were talking with a business in Clay County who understands the challenges, but really is wanting to get the most out of being in the region, and so we appreciate that. But to have those shovel-ready sites that we can bring forward when businesses say maybe they want to relocate or get more land or less land, I think to have those varied acre components is really important too, and the documents are very valuable. So thank you for having those available. I think that's really good.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. One thing I'll share with everybody is this past year, CNBC did a study with the Site Selectors Guild, which is the largest makeup of site selectors globally, and they look at the top factors for location, business location, and for the first time in a decade, having available sites was on par with the workforce needs. So it's really a 1-2 punch. You have to be able to prove that workforce, and you have to have a facility or a piece of land that has the infrastructure ready to build on.
And then my further piece, and I think I say this every year, is we're really excited about the big, broad businesses that are bringing, $3 to $7 billion into the region. I think that's fantastic. I also think it's great when we can help foster an environment where mom and pop shops can thrive too. And so, I think we're talking all over the spectrum, and that's tricky and that's hard, but we've done a great job, I think, of including that as part of the discussion. When a $3 billion project comes to the region, there are also some challenges that come with that in regards to how we plan services or plan school districts, plan for all of those pieces. And what I will say, I've said for a long time, is we need to be part of that dialogue so we can help bring all of the planning with. And there's been years where maybe we haven't been great about that, but I will say now I'm seeing we've made a breakthrough in regards to, you've got school districts part of the dialogue, part of the planning, part of the initiative, so they can get the ball rolling on what are the needs that we will see as these newer employees with families come to the districts, and all of a sudden a 600 employee plant has children that need to be in school too. So those things take time, and I think we've done a good job of being inclusive in what that plan looks like going forward.
Commissioner, if I could say on your comment, most of the projects aren't the $3 billion projects. In fact, that list up there of 12, most of them are relative in size. And in terms of that relationship, you mentioned education. I think of companies like Personal Touch Marketing working with the Career Academy and educating their students on the type of work that they do for companies like OtterBox and others. Or it's these ones that add up. And we obviously recognize that, and the leadership in this region has recognized it for a long time, because the entrepreneurial ecosystem here is like no other. We have people from all over the country coming here. A whole delegation from Ames visited last year, and one of the questions they asked was, how are you working as two states, and how are you working in this entrepreneurial space? So, credit to the region. It's just didn't happen overnight.
Commissioner Krabnoff.
Again, thank you for all your work. I think for me, and I'm not going to repeat what's been said, but I do agree with it all. I really appreciate what I've seen over the last 3 years as a commissioner, as also being part of the chamber for years and its development. But from what it used to be, when it, even 10 years ago, and the depth and the growth in your work. I just see a real macro part into the detail of into the microwave area of our work for our specific things in the county and how we lobby with that or advocate for that. One question I do have, we invest in, also much like in the Innovate, along with Downtown Inc. And I'm just curious, I'm such a huge one on collaboration. You're showing that. But if you could just elaborate a little bit, if you don't mind, how you also work with them and the fact that Moorhead, is doing pretty darn big things, biggest I've seen in my lifetime, and how you work along with that piece as well, if you wouldn't mind.
You can go start, and I'll go.
Well, thanks for the question. The heart of any community in any region is its downtown or downtowns. And so the investment that's being made, the leadership that Derek and Dan and the team have had within the city of Moorhead has been, critically important. We're in constant communication, especially with Derek because of his broader role, to make sure that as Deeds bringing a project into the region, how do we support that? Our job is to sort of, find out at a community or county level, what are those needs, and then what within our mission can we be playing? So I'm sure you can ask Derek and Dan and the team about, the Moorhead Inc. and the work that they're doing with us. But our teams are in constant contact with one another, especially on the entrepreneurial side, working with the higher eds and their work on downtown and the development of what's taking place there. So I don't know if there's a specific question.
No,
but
there wasn't. You kind of on it.
Yeah, and I'll just add to it, I think that this is where we see the Clay County Leaders Roundtable really taking shape. When we pull those leaders together, including both of our organizations, but Downtown Moorhead Inc., all of the colleges, the city, the county, what we're really striving for is stronger clarity and alignment. So alignment to say how can we make sure that we are not duplicative of what we're doing, but we're amplifying the work that we're doing. And I do think that it's all about leverage, right? But it's also around understanding what are the roles that each play, even though those roles may shift. How can we make sure that we are, and we've done this with Innovate 28 very successfully, identifying who's best positioned to lead an initiative and who's best positioned to support it, and then how do we make sure that we kind of organize our work around those initiatives. So we're continuing to work on that with other organizations, not just with the two of ours. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. It was kind of a broad question, but I mean, it's just that effort of our investments, are leveraged too,
Right.
in a bigger way. And I that's where my head goes. And then again, a deep thank you for, Kalen and our involvement, all the programs you've done with us, help down in St. Paul. It's been fun getting to know you much better, I guess, on a personal basis as we do our work together. So, yeah, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Ebner.
Real quickly, I missed one thing I want to emphasize. And Cal was, again, your tip of the spear on this thing. I went through a campaign for the first time in my life a year ago. And one of the things knocking on doors I found out is people do not understand local government. And the chamber did a great service to the candidates that wanted to get their qualifications and their ideas out to our public and to the public themselves. and helping us towards educating them in exactly what county commissioners do and city council members do. Even township representatives need to get the word out. But the candidate forums were great. They were done very professionally. They asked tough questions. You know, we had to be prepared and come in, and it was just a good opportunity. Please keep that up. That is necessary for the little groups of government like county commissioners and city council members as well. It really helped us a lot in getting our positions and our faces out there.
Great, we will do so, and that's the kind of the premise behind the Center for Civic Engagement, so we're going to lean in even heavier to that to make even more people aware of the opportunities, but also just the process. So, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for your presentation this morning. As you know, we're in our budget process right now, and we set our preliminary levy, I think it's by the end of September, somewhere in that area. And if we have any additional questions regarding your request, we will forward them to you. So, but thank you for your presentation. Very well done.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next we have a closed session for the board discussion regarding labor negotiations per statute 13D.03. Do we have a motion to close?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. We are in closed session. We're back in session, and our next item is strategic discussion regarding a lobbyist for engagement. And Steve, I know you're going to, but if I can just start off here. Last week we had our diversion planning meeting, and there was a lot of discussion about the significant need we're down to the basically next year is going to be the last year for obtaining funds for the diversion project, and it's been our #1 priority. And with that, I did mention to that group that we had been in a previous meeting, we had talked about hiring lobbyists to help with our efforts, and so it was based on that I asked Steve that let's get this on early. I think if we want to, if this is the route that the board wants to take, I think now is the appropriate time to do it. If we're going to wait, from my standpoint, if we're going to wait and incorporate into the 2026 budget, we're going to already be way behind. And so I think if we're going to do it, we should be talking about doing it now, and whether we have to find those funds in reserves or whatever, but get that ball rolling now. That's kind of how this got on the agenda today. I asked Steve to put it on for that purpose. And Steve, you can start with your comments, and we'll give it the.
Yeah, no, Mr. Chair, I think you did an excellent job teeing that up. As a board, you have, especially over the last several years, you made being down in St. Paul a legislative priority in designated Commissioner Mojo and Commissioner Krabanoff to be down there on a routine basis, along with their engagement with the chamber. And so you've had discussions. I think we had a discussion last year about the potential of a lobbyist. So this isn't something that is new to this discussion. But again, I think Commissioner Campbell teed it up very well, and so I would turn it back for your comments.
Commissioner Krabanoff.
Yeah. So I'd just like to make some first remarks. I think our priorities, there's been 2 or 3 that come together every year here. And I think you already mentioned the diversion. We'll see where the future discussions go with BRTF. And just even between those two, as well as we do along with the chamber, and especially Commissioner Mojo being down there much more than I think our message is doing well, but I've also been around legislature long enough to know that we end up with our certain groups that we know well. These people know well, we grow from that. But a professional lobbyist, being there on a consistent basis is just going to always be quicker to advocate. And I think the other thing they do to us, they have relationships that they've established for a while that then gets to Commissioner Mojo and I, so that we can tap those in a way that maybe, someone's broken that ice and we can refer and talk with. So I'm largely, really in favor of this. I think urgency is a little bit now, and so many things for summertime, and we got to have these things going by October, November, for the next legislative session. I have one name I'm kind of keen in investigating with. The chamber, obviously, she mentioned potentially some names, but my point is investigation at the same time of knowing, trying to settle on a number that would seem appropriate.
So my thoughts on this are, if we as a board could come up with something financially, what's our target area that we could maybe look at between now and December 31st, then we can incorporate some additional discussion. And then in terms of who that person might be, I think that we should probably, and I hate to lean on these people again, but I think between Steve and Paul and Jenny, because you've been down there, I think maybe those like a little subgroup could maybe look at who would be best to invest with. I'm going to make no bones about it here. Sometimes in terms of lobbyists, there's lobbyists that you can get that some people hired based on the politics of it, who might be more effective with one party or the other. I hope we don't go that route. I think that we need to look at who can be most effective with the issues that we're talking about. But, so that's my thoughts on it right now. So, if we just kind of want to move this along, if that's something that the board is fully interested in, maybe let's establish a dollar amount, and then if we could maybe have that subgroup that's been doing all of this work down there, maybe give a recommendation back to us in terms of who that agency might be that we would hire. Commissioner Ebinger, you have a comment.
Just a couple of things. I don't have any idea, and I've worked for or been part of organizations that have hired a lobbyist. It was many years ago, and I can't remember what we paid them. So I don't have an idea what the cost would be. But I agree, we need to do this with some expediency, not just so the lobbyists get familiar with the issues, but Jenny and Paul have put tons of hours in on this, and Steve. They're going to be more effective being able to be brought in by the lobbyist to talk to who we need to talk to, when we need to talk to them. It's going to save them time on where to put their efforts. So I agree. Paul or Jenny, do you have an idea what a lobbyist, a range of what it would cost us?
Well, I'll just speak to the last one. It was only the last one when I approached it, a year and a half ago, wasn't it? Thereabouts. And in that one, to work it through, and that was specific more just to the PRTF that we were trying to move forward. At that point, that one was a little, session was already going. They were going to be brought up to speed. We were going to finish through, and that was $25,000.
Mr. Chair, I apologize.
Yeah, Jenny.
I do have to run to a funeral, and I think it's really important that we're having this conversation. So I appreciate the board and Mr. Chair for bringing this up. You know, in regards to what we're looking at, I would say $40,000 is a fairly good starting point. It's an à la carte piece, so you're gonna, you know, get more or less depending on what we're wanting, or in regards to the issues, if you're adding additional issues, obviously, then it goes up. Our board did a phenomenal job of getting into around tables at the Capitol to try to forward our concerns. I will just say, based on who the chamber hired, the fantastic mix of the agency that they hired was, you had longtime leaders in both parties represented in one agency. And so different members of each organization, or different members of that agency, were able to get us into the leaders of the DFL caucus and also leaders of the GOP caucus. And I would like to see something similar to that. If we're serious about the conversation of legislative decisions have drastic effects locally, which I believe that they do, $40,000 is a drop in the bucket as to what we are, what we can get return on investment pieces. I would say they could be a lot higher than that too. That's just if you're looking at getting us through 25. It might be less. If you're looking at a full legislative session, it's likely going to be more. But getting something on in an agreement sooner rather than later. Most of our legislative work for our priorities happened in October, November, December last year.
Yeah, so I guess I think that number is probably an okay number to start off with, and I'm sure if we, if we want to put a motion out there to start that process and use 40,000 as a target, and again, I think it's always open to see where that goes and how it's developing, and I would think that would be plenty to get us through December, and then it just goes back to the thought of having Jenny and Paul and Steve coming up with this. I think we still want to kind of target what our original priorities were, because both of those priorities still exist. And maybe there might be one lobbyist who might be better in water issues than that wouldn't be as knowledgeable in the PRTF area. So you would have to, that's something that you guys can determine, and if one agency has all of those abilities within it, that's great, but so the thoughts on the 40K?
You want to make it a little north of that, just so we have some.
I think 40 is a good start, because we can always adjust it.
Okay.
Yep.
We have the ability to adjust.
For 25, I think
For
that.
2025.
For 20, okay.
Yeah, this is just for
This-
2025.
Mr. Chair, if I might provide a motion, I would like this board to give direction to our administrator to look at gathering proposals for legislative representation for 2025. We took a shot in the dark in numbers, and so I think that motion would be around that mark. If we have discussions and see that we're off base, he can bring it back. And then I guess furthermore with that motion, allow him the freedom to craft a 26 budget request as well.
I'd second that.
Okay, so the motion is the 40K.
For him to work, finding proposals around that for us.
Okay, so there is no dollar amount tied to it.
Well, because I don't know.
Once he comes up with the proposals, he'll come back with his,
Okay.
boom, and then
All
we'll
right. Okay.
to hire him or not.
Actually, I shouldn't even be having this discussion without a second, so.
I thought Dave seconded.
Oh, did you have a second?
Yeah, he
Okay,
seconded it.
All right.
I guess the only thing I would still propose, just with our inside knowledge of others, that you and I are involved in helping Steve.
Well, we have a motion and a second,
Oh, yeah.
and I would ask that if this motion carries, that when you get those submittals, that you go to Jenny and Paul, and the three of you come up with a recommendation to the board.
Is that fair?
That
Yeah, we can accept that in the motion.
It's her motion. I'm just,
Yeah, I'm just,
I think based on how we usually do committee structure, I think it would be assumed that you'd work with the legislative committee on that.
okay, very good. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Do you want to do your committee reports?
Yes, and I just, one, thank you for that. For the public, it is, most cities and counties have legal representation as part of their budget. So this is not an outlier. I mean, all of the agencies that we work with have that, so I appreciate that. Now I just shut down my computer. Okay, last week I had, looking at schedule.
20-on land.
County-owned lands committee, we did have a pretty good update on all of the existing county parcels. There were a couple of requests that Ezra can move through that we thought were within the parameter of that. The next day, I had a discussion regarding tipping fees generated with our solid waste department, particularly at the resource recovery facility for 2026. I attended a AMC Lunch and Learn on accessing and understanding local census data, which I thought was really interesting. And then on the 14th, I attended the Soil and Water Conservation District, just as a mom, but also want to, you two that are on that board, to extend gratitude to that board for supplying funds for kiddos to go to conservation camp. I think that's a really important outreach that your board does, so thank you. And that concludes my report.
All right, very good. Before I move on to the next one, as Jenny's kind of packing up to go, I just want to point out that I did receive a letter from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources where they're going to be conducting a water survey for Clay County this year. And it's a fairly significant study. And in my phone conversation with the Wes was his name, I did suggest they offered to come before the board and maybe give a 20-minute presentation, because this could be something that you all might get questions on as they're doing the survey and dealing with landowners. So I will probably be asking Steve to line that presentation up so we're all aware of just what all is included in this study, because it sounds like it's a major undertaking. So yeah, so we'll plan that process as. All right. So let's move on. Let's do Ezra.
Last Tuesday after board, we had County-owned lands committee that Commissioner Mojo talked about, but on there, we also had an update on the county-owned lands parcels. They have all been addressed. That was something we've been working on to get them all addressed, so they have a fire number at them. And then we also had an update on the Dubuque erosion acquisition property that we had at county board less than a month ago. And Matt has filed with the state to see if we can get 12.5% for the landowner there, so they won't be out so much. And then that is about, we talked a little bit about riparian aid dollars being used for some county land maintenance on some burning projects. That's pretty much what happened at that committee. Then on Wednesday, I was up in Ada for the Wild Rice Watershed District, where they approved 17 permits and tabled 5, and then they set their general budget levy at 4.7% increase, and they dropped their levy on the ditches by about 6 or 7% on their levy for the ditch maintenance. And on Thursday, October 14th, I was at the Yellow Ribbon. It was not that well attended. A lot of people were gone, and not much talk. I'll let, if Commissioner Ebiner wants to go in more into it, he was also there. But next month, there will be no meeting. The next meeting will be October 16th, 2025. We had good discussion there, but not too much came from there. And then on Friday, I was over in Detroit Lakes for Partnership for Health, where Commissioner Ebinger is the chairman on that. I'll let him take the lead on that, but we had an update on our grant splits, and we sorted, we had one that had a mistake on it, and we figured that out. I'll let Commissioner Ebinger go more in detail on that. We are coming to the end of Partnership for Health with Wilkin County and Otter Tail going out on their own, so there's some discussion on that. But that was all my committee reports.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Ebinger.
Thank you. Last Tuesday, met with Kathy McKay and some of the public health staff, referenced the upcoming meeting with our partners at the Partnership for Health, reference PHEP funds, and I'll address that here later. We just had a problem and needed to discuss it. Wednesday, the 13th, virtually attended the meeting for the Positive Community Norm Strategic Planning for Year 5 on that grant. That'll be the last year of that grant. However, we are applying for a drug-free community grant that would be ongoing, and this is in the DGF school district for the positive norms. I had a good meeting there. Next morning, I attended on Thursday Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. Again, it was, a lot of the folks weren't there to participate. However, Joshua Clark and Aaron Johnson from the MDVA and the Veterans Resource Outreach, a lot of good things going on at MSUM for the veterans there, and they just had a pretty good oversight on the progress they're making with that. Later that day, I attended a full board meeting of Lake Agassiz Regional Library. I'm checking my email because I'm trying to get an update on that. Okay, and I just got an update on that. We voted to accept an offer from Moorhead for a 10-year lease at $18 a square foot with 1% per year increase, which comes to $55,764 a year starting this year for 3,098 square feet. We are, there were some corrections in the lease agreement that we want to see incorporated. So the director of the library system is taking it to an attorney. It's nothing earth-shaking, just some things that need to be clarified. That our acceptance of that offer and the changes to the lease will then go to the city manager at Moorhead, and they can review it and bring it before the Moorhead City Council for approval. So it looks like we are probably where we need to be in ending the negotiations on that. On Friday, we had the Partnership for Health Community Health Board meeting. On the PHEP grants, we had mistakenly in the last meeting split the PHEP grant evenly among the 4 counties. There was within statute, there was a formula that's to be used in dividing up those funds, and that had mistakenly not been used. The result was a loss, a minor loss for one of the counties, a loss of about $3,000 for Becker, and I think we were $11,000 where we had lost it, and Wilkin County was $16,000 over what that split would have been. We needed to vote on it because we had voted on the original 4-way split. Everybody was good about it. They realized a mistake had been made. There was a vote passed unanimously to use the state-designed division on that. And I told them at the meeting, and I'll say here, it is really nice to work with people that want to do the right thing even when it hurts a little bit. And I appreciate our colleagues with the partnership being as reasonable as they were. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Ezra, you had one more thing?
Yep, I forgot, last Tuesday night, myself, Commissioner Campbell, and Chair of the West Central Regional Water District, Lucas Spaeth, we went to the city of Ullin to talk to them about signing an MOU to be part of the design phase of the West Central Regional Water District, and they signed that MOU that night, so they will be included on the design and the planning of that water district.
Thank you. Commissioner Krabenhoft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I was not able to be part of the commission meeting last Tuesday, I'm going to go back with a couple reports that were the week prior. So on August 5th, I was part of the insurance committee meeting, again, ongoing discussions with our group on health company RFPs and other auxiliary benefits that we're still in the process of going through. Also, I was part of a presentation, went to a presentation by NAMI that evening. It's Minnesota Alliance on Mental Health. And that organization legislatively advocates with Minnesota legislators on mental health issues. I was there in partnership with other people from our adult mental health LAC. On the 5th, I did have the Adult Mental Health LAC Executive Committee meeting, developing the agenda for the month and future topics and presenters in the next coming months. On Thursday, August 5th, I was probably talked about last week, went to that opening ceremony for the diversion structure that reroutes the Red River at the event of major flood occurrences to the area, working toward that permanent protection above 500-year event level. Quite a structure, $115 million, and to be around it is certainly impressive. And as one who's been part of diversion advocacy for a decade, it's glad to see this finally moving on, and like as you mentioned earlier today, getting that in place by the end of 26, 27. This week, on Wednesday the 13th, I had our monthly, our bi-monthly, or every other month now, County Extension Committee meeting. At this meeting, we mainly did their staff reports. There was also a follow-up on the fair, just to let you know that over $200 adults volunteered along with the kids, which did in total 222 total exhibits, 150 animal, and then the other were general. So it just, they felt it's some of the highest level that they've had at the fair, and so those programs continue to grow, which is kudos for extension and the 4-H programs that go on. The last thing I'd like to mention in extension with 4-H, they this year have been doing 4-H adventure camps that have been done in camps in Holly, Ullin, and Barnesville, and they have had 40 attendees that were part of these adventure, which involve outdoor adventures and wildlife biology. That was the main gist of it. We did have reports from Master Gardeners. Their events still go on throughout the year and are growing in depth and in people attendance. And we do have one board position open. There's a search going for that and looking for a member that might be interested in being on the County Extension Committee, and we'd like that it's in line for that to be a rural person to join in. Then Thursday, August 14th, I had the monthly Class SWC board member meeting. Commissioner Mojo mentioned she was there in place of Commissioner Bear, And she was there because it was her son getting the award. And so Lakin did a very good report, 11 years old, and he talked about the firearm safety training he received, as well as conservation education, which also got involved in beehive activities. So, I mean, it was a very good report from him. Also, a couple other things too, water sediment control basins being put in as part of one watershed, one plan. We had 2 well sealings over the last month. In the old days, we used to have well sealings quite a bit more often, but at least we had 2 more that came up in the area. There's a cost share of that for them of up to $1,000 for that sealing. Other than that, 2 other things, I guess, sorry. We had Bowser come in and give status of grant agreements that all went out now at the beginning of July and been distributed. I know for the county, our natural resource block grant remained the same. And then as far as SWCD aid that they now get directly from the state, that number dropped to $12 million. It had been at 15. And so that was a reduction on their programs, or not programs, for their administration of about $28,000. Both those were reflected in the budget they gave us when Kevin was here, and so no surprises, and that their request is current. They're putting out estimates. This is for the Crestwood area that we're involved with for a prescribed burn to be done on that maybe hopefully next spring if all things look in order, and that would be a prescribed burn on that 8 acres. And the first estimate they have is around $5,000 to do so. And last here, we have, as far as county ag inspector, they've applied for a grant for $5,000 to help along with that work. It sounds like that's coming their way, and we'll have those funds in October. And then also the tree programs and no-till programs were at full level again this year, and those have all been completed. So that's my report I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. On August 12th, I attended the Diversion Authority Planning Committee meeting. The discussions that we had were around the planned fall retreat for the full board, which is going to be on September 16th in the afternoon. We also talked about a full Diversion Authority Board project tour, along with the media that we're looking at doing. And then, as we talked about, we did talk a little bit about Lobbyist. I brought that up during our Minnesota funding update. There was Jason Benson talked about the Red Board and trying to get the Red Board. The Red Board also lobbies a lot for water funding from the Minnesota DNR. And what Jason was hoping for is that the Red Board, because we're kind of competing for these funds, you know, and because we're down towards the end of the diversion project, Jason was going to be in contact with the Red Board to see if they would agree that what we need should be a priority. It's, you know, still part of that whole Red River. Now the Red Board is different than the Red River Basin, you know. So, and I guess I bring that up for any of you who may have contact or information with the Red Board to maybe help with our needs in terms of we're in the final stages of being able to get funding from the state of Minnesota. And then that was And I think there might also be a letter, Jason was gonna maybe have a letter drafted that would be signed. You know, we're looking at maybe all the local mayors and the Cass County Commission Chair and myself as the Clay County Commission Chair to forward a letter to the Red Board just stating that this is really a critical time period for funding from the state of Minnesota. And if they could help us, that would be great. That same evening, I attended the Ulen presentation from the West Central Regional Water District that Commissioner Bear talked about, and they did sign the MOU. Last week, we talked about our previous, the evening before that, we had attended Hitterdall's meeting, and it's my understanding that through Commissioner Bear that Hitterdall is also, if they're going to sign or have signed they're going to be signing the MOU. So every entity that we've gone to so far, we've had good success. Obviously, there's still a lot of questions that they all have, but they certainly want to be part of the planning process in that regard. On Thursday, August 14th, I attended Lakes Country Service Cooperative, and I basically on that board, I represent several different counties. It's not just for Clay County, but we talked about in all the different insurances. As you know, Lakes Country used to be provider of Clay County's health insurance through that cooperative. We went out on our own last year or 2 years ago, but we reviewed several insurance quotes and updates on that, and that, I believe, concludes my report. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week I participated in the county owns lands. It's been well covered. On the 13th, we had county management. We highlighted the budget discussion. We had an update from our IT department and also our human resources department. On the 13th, I also met with Sheriff Emteen in regards to some county issues. Participated that afternoon in a administrative meeting with Robert Wilson from Cass County and Dan Molly, City of Moorhead, on shared issues. On that day, I met with Anna and had some HR discussions. On the 14th, met with Troy Amundson, director at the Detox facility. The 15th, I met with both Commissioner Kravinoff and Commissioner Bear on a series of county issues. Yesterday, I participated, kind of continuation of our intergovernmental discussions, the City of Moorhead, Moorhead School District, Derek LaPointe, on just some shared planning that's being done with our respective entities. And that concludes my report.
All right, Brian? Darren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Tuesday, I also attended the county-owned lands meeting, which has already been covered. Gathered some COLAs from other counties for our union discussions this morning. On Wednesday, I attended the manager's meeting as well. And also, we had our meeting with the Resource Recovery Center for tipping fees. Also, Wednesday, I had a meeting with Anna on some personnel issues. Thursday, worked on the costing sheets that we discussed today. And also had a meeting with MCCC on the officers that were elected this year, just going over some of the rules and regulations for MCCC. On Friday, I was off. Monday, attended a meeting on our pictometry training, which was headed up by Mark Sloan. The board approved that, I think it was last year. Finalized union costing sheets yesterday, and also had a meeting with Steve and Anna on some personnel issues yesterday. That concludes my report.
Thank you. I forgot to talk about too, I was also part of the discussion on Wednesday, August 13th, where we met and discussed the resource recovery facility, and part of what we had asked for there was if we were to create two separate tipping fees, one being based on the true costs of operations at the resource recovery facility, and also what the true cost would be on a tipping fee at the landfill with two potentially different rates. The information that we got is that the tipping fee The rate for the resource recovery facility would go up to about $81, which is currently $56, so you'd be talking about a $25 per ton increase. And if you look at, you know, for example, the total cost of the total tons that I believe Moorhead brings to that facility is about 22,000. Well, I use 22, right? And I use 22, and that would be basically an increase of $550,000. It's something we certainly don't. Obviously, that's not very attractive, and we would like to certainly avoid that. So we'll see where that goes. But again, I mean, we're just trying to provide all sorts of true numbers for comparison purposes to what the current contract is. So
Just to clarify, that's simply to run the operation. Nobody's making any money on that.
nobody's making any money. That's to run the operation, the true cost of running the operation. And that would be if Clay County ran it all. You know, so we'd have to, we would have to take over some of the current positions that Moorhead does. All right, that concludes everything that we have to have. I apologize for running long again today, but some of these issues just take longer than we anticipate. So I'll be the guilty one for running long here. With that, we are adjourned.